Admiral Kyle Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance and stared at the holographic display in front of him. The message from the Galactic Council had arrived 3 hours ago, and it had changed everything. He read it again, still not believing what he was seeing. The Council was declaring war on humanity. After 200 years of peace, after 200 years of following their rules, the aliens were attacking. Captain Linda Hayes walked up beside him. She looked worried. "They really think they can beat us," she said quietly. "They have no idea what we've been hiding." Kyle let out a long breath. For 2 centuries, humanity had been careful. When humans first discovered faster-than-light travel and met the alien civilizations, they learned quickly that the galaxy was not friendly. The Galactic Council controlled everything. 12 powerful alien species ruled over hundreds of weaker ones. They did not like newcomers who showed too much promise. The Council had given humanity strict rules. Humans could only have 20 colony worlds. They could only build small military fleets. They were forbidden from researching advanced weapons. Every treaty was designed to keep humanity weak and under control. The aliens said it was for galactic peace. Kyle knew it was really about power. The Council wanted to make sure humans never became strong enough to challenge them, and humanity had obeyed. At least that was what the Council believed. Commander Greg Palmer turned from his console. "Admiral, we're getting reports from all human territories. The Council has given us 72 hours to surrender. They want us to hand over our military and accept their occupation." Kyle smiled, but there was no humor in it. 72 hours. They think this will be easy. Lieutenant Sophie Clark looked up from the communications station. "Sir, should I send the activation codes?" "Not yet," Kyle said. "First we talk." He opened a secure channel that connected him to the other human leaders. Admiral Peter Grant appeared on the screen calling from Earth. General Carrie Nelson joined from the Colonial Defense Headquarters. Then Director Henry Shaw connected from Section 0, the most secret organization in human space. Henry spoke first. His face was tired, but his eyes were sharp. "The Council has made their move. After 200 years of preparation, it's time to show them the truth." Peter nodded. "Protocol Olympus is ready. Every hidden asset is standing by. We just need to give the word." Kyle felt the weight of what they were about to do. "Before we start this war, everyone needs to understand what we're revealing. Once we activate the protocol, the galaxy will never see humanity the same way again." Carrie pulled up classified files on her screen. 200 years ago, when we first met the Council, we were warned. A friendly alien told us that the Council destroys any species that seems too powerful. They've done it before. Dozens of civilizations crushed before they could become rivals. So we made a choice. We would hide our true strength and grow in secret. The screen showed data that even most humans had never seen. While the Council thought humanity controlled 20 worlds, the truth was very different. Humans had established over 300 secret colonies in hidden regions of space. They used advanced stealth technology to keep these worlds invisible to alien sensors. The Council's maps showed empty space where human cities actually thrived. Linda stared at the numbers. 300 worlds. And the Council thinks we only have 20. "That's not all," Henry continued. "The military restrictions were even more of a lie. Yes, we limited our official fleet to what the Council allowed. But in secret shipyards across those hidden colonies, we built a real war machine." Greg pulled up fleet data. 2,300 capital ships, 15,000 support vessels, 300,000 fighters. All hidden. All waiting. Sophie's hand shook slightly. "The Council rates our technology as Class 4. These specifications show we're actually Class 9 or maybe Class 10. "Class 10, Kyle repeated. "That means we're more advanced than any Council species. More advanced than species that have been spacefaring for thousands of years." Peter leaned forward on the screen. "Human scientists never stopped innovating. While the Council thought they had limited our research, we were developing quantum weapons, singularity shields, artificial intelligence networks, and dimensional fold drives. Our technology doesn't just match theirs, it surpasses it." Henry brought up a galactic map. Blue areas showed Council space. Tiny green dots marked humanity's official 20 worlds. Then he activated another layer and the map transformed. Hundreds of hidden colonies appeared. Massive defense networks became visible. The true extent of human civilization revealed itself. "We don't control 20 worlds," Henry said. "We control over 300. We're not a minor species. We're a major galactic power that's been pretending to be weak." Kyle looked at the faces on the screen. The Council expects us to surrender within days. They think they'll crush us easily. Instead, they're about to face something they've never seen before. An enemy that's stronger than them, Linda finished. Exactly, Kyle said. For 200 years, every human leader has known the truth. We are powerful. We are advanced. And we only hide because the alternative was extinction. But the Council has forced our hand. They've declared war. Now we have no choice but to show them what we really are. Greg studied the Council's attack plans. Intelligence shows they're sending 700 capital ships to human space. 5 different alien species are contributing forces. By their calculations, it's 10 times what they need to conquer us. And if we only had what they think we have, they'd be right, Carrie admitted. But they're not mobilizing their full military. They think this is just a police action against primitives. How long until their fleets arrive at Earth? Kyle asked. 68 hours, Sophie reported. They're not even hiding their approach. They think we're too weak to resist. Henry's expression was grim. We have a choice to make. We can surrender and hope for mercy, or we can reveal what humanity truly is and fight back. Nobody needed to vote. The decision was obvious. Kyle closed the communication channel and turned to his crew. Begin Protocol Olympus. Contact all hidden colonies and secret fleet elements. Tell them the waiting is over. As the orders went out through encrypted channels, humanity began to move. In hidden shipyards, massive warships powered up for the first time. On secret worlds, defense systems came online. Across 300 colonies, billions of humans learned that the deception was ending. The Galactic Council thought they were attacking a weak species with 20 worlds and a tiny fleet. They were about to discover they had declared war on an empire of 300 worlds, with a military that had spent 2 centuries preparing for exactly this moment. The Council thought they were crushing primitives. Instead, they were waking a giant. The galaxy was about to change forever. Commander Jake Sullivan piloted his stealth fighter through empty space. Around him, 19 other fighters flew in perfect formation. Their hulls absorbed sensor waves instead of reflecting them, making them invisible to alien technology. These ships did not officially exist. The Galactic Council had no idea humanity could build such advanced craft. Ghost Leader to Ghost Squadron, Jake transmitted on the encrypted channel. Enemy fleet is 2 hours from Earth orbit. We have authorization to begin Operation Revelation. Lieutenant Amy Rogers responded from the fighter beside him. Copy that, Leader. Weapons are armed and ready. Time to show these aliens what humans can really do. 200 light-years from Earth, the Vrexian war fleet moved toward human space with complete confidence. Fleet Commander Zarthok sat on his command throne, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. He looked at the battle plans and felt pleased. The humans had 20 small worlds and maybe 50 ships. This war would be over quickly. What Zarthok did not know was that his entire fleet had been under human surveillance for 3 days. Tiny sensor drones, far beyond Council technology, had attached themselves to every Vrexian ship. They fed real-time data directly to human command centers. The Vrexians thought they were sneaking up on a weak enemy. In reality, humans were tracking their every move. In the Earth Defense Headquarters deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Peter Grant watched multiple holographic displays. Each one showed a different Council fleet approaching human territory. Give me a status report, he ordered. Colonel Frank Morris manipulated the holographic display. 7 Council fleets are converging on our space from different directions. Total strength is 732 capital ships, 3,000 escorts, and approximately 200,000 fighter craft. And our response? Ghost squadrons are in position at all intercept points. Hidden fleet elements are moving into attack formation. All secret colonies have activated their defense networks. We are ready, sir. Peter nodded and opened a channel to all human forces across the galaxy. This is Admiral Grant to all commands. 200 years ago, we chose patience over pride. We accepted limitations we could have shattered because we were waiting for the right moment. That moment is now. For every treaty they forced us to sign, for every restriction they placed on our growth, for every human who had to hide their abilities, we make them pay today. Show them what humanity really is. Execute Operation Revelation. The response was immediate across all of human space, both visible and hidden. Jake and his squadron dropped their stealth fields as they reached weapons range of the Vrexian fleet. Suddenly, 20 human fighters appeared on Vrexian sensors, materializing from nowhere. Impossible, Zarthok shrieked. How did they penetrate our sensor grid? Before he could finish processing what was happening, Jake's squadron opened fire. Human quantum torpedoes, weapons that existed in multiple dimensions at once, phased through Vrexian shields like they were not even there. 20 massive alien warships exploded in the first 3 seconds of combat. Ghost Leader to command. Jake reported calmly. First attack successful. Enemy shields are completely ineffective against quantum weapons, as we predicted. Amy's fighter danced through Vrexian return fire with impossible agility. Her artificial intelligence navigation system predicted enemy firing patterns before they happened. They are adjusting tactics and switching to wide dispersal fire. Then we adjust too, Jake responded. Ghost Squadron activate dimensional slip. The human fighters flickered, and suddenly each one occupied multiple positions in space at the same time. Vrexian targeting computers went crazy, unable to lock onto targets that existed in several dimensions simultaneously. From a distance that should have been impossible for any attack, massive weapons fire erupted from seemingly empty space. The Vrexian sensors finally detected the source. 200 human dreadnoughts had been hiding behind dimensional folds in reality itself. They had been there all along, invisible and waiting. Captain Martin Blake commanded the dreadnought Invisible Hand, one of humanity's most advanced warships. All batteries fire at will. Let us send the Council a message they cannot ignore. The Invisible Hand's main cannons, powered by contained singularities, unleashed devastating power. Each shot carried the energy of a small star. The Vrexian fleet had absolutely no defense against such weapons. Within 15 minutes, the proud Vrexian war fleet was reduced to scattered debris and fleeing survivors. Similar battles played out across every attack vector. The Corthan battle fleet ran straight into a minefield of devices they could not detect. They lost half their ships before they even saw an enemy. The Sethari Armada discovered that their famous plasma weapons were useless against human singularity shields, which simply absorbed all the energy and converted it into more power for human systems. Back on Earth, Director Henry Shaw monitored battle reports with grim satisfaction. Phase 1 is complete. Council forces have lost 40% of their attacking fleets. All remaining forces are in full retreat. What are our casualties? Peter asked. Minimal, sir. 12 fighters lost, 3 escorts damaged. No capital ships have been hit. Their weapons can barely scratch our defensive systems. General Carey Nelson pulled up long-range scans. The Council is about to receive these battle reports. That is when the real panic will begin. She was absolutely right. In the Council chambers on the ancient world of Galaxis Prime, the 12 species that ruled the galaxy gathered in emergency session. Holographic displays showed impossible things. Human ships appearing from nowhere, weapons that ignored all known defenses, technology that should not exist. Councillor Vex of the Vrexian Empire was nearly incoherent with rage and fear. They destroyed our entire fleet. 140 ships just gone. How is this possible? Councillor Thane of the Corthan Collective studied the tactical data with growing horror. These are not primitive humans. Look at these technology readings. They are using quantum weapons, dimensional physics, artificial intelligence integration beyond anything we have developed. How? Councillor Saren of the Sethari Concordat demanded. We monitored their development. We restricted their research. How could they advance so far without our knowledge? The answer came from Councillor Zareth of the Thalen, a minor species that had secretly sympathized with humanity. Perhaps because you only saw what they wanted you to see. All eyes turned to the small alien councillor. Explain yourself, Vex demanded. Zareth pulled up humanity's official territorial claims showing their 20 permitted worlds. Then with a few gestures he overlaid new intelligence data. Our agents have been tracking anomalies for decades. Unexplained resource movements, statistical impossibilities in human population reports, sensor shadows in uncharted space. We suspected but never confirmed until now. The map transformed showing hundreds of hidden human colonies spread across vast regions of space. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. 300 worlds, Thane roared. They have been hiding 300 colonies from us. And if they hid that, Saren said slowly, what else have they been hiding? The display updated again, showing preliminary estimates of human military strength based on the day's battles. The numbers were staggering. Councillor Var of the Nexian Federation studied the data in silence before speaking. By these estimates, humanity possesses a fleet larger than any single council member. Their technology exceeds our own in multiple categories. They have gone from a minor species to a major galactic power, and we never even noticed. No, Zareth corrected quietly. We noticed. We simply dismissed all the evidence because it did not fit our assumption that they were primitive and weak. Humanity has been practicing the greatest deception in galactic history, and we fell for it completely. Vex slammed his appendage on the council table. Then we mobilize everything. All 12 species at full military strength. We crush them before they become an even greater threat. With what? Var asked quietly. If they have been hiding this much, what makes you think we have seen their full strength? We just sent 700 ships and they destroyed nearly half with minimal losses. How many ships do they really have? What other weapons are they hiding? A new message appeared on the central display, transmitted on all council frequencies. A human face appeared wearing a military uniform that radiated authority. Council members, Admiral Peter Grant began, this is a message for the Galactic Council. For 200 years you have treated humanity as children to be managed and controlled. You placed restrictions on our growth and claimed it was for our own good. Today you declared war on us, believing we would be easy targets. Peter's expression hardened. You were wrong. What you saw today was not humanity's full military strength. It was a warning. We possess over 300 worlds. A fleet that rivals your combined might and weapons technology you cannot match. But understand this clearly. We do not want this war. We never did. He leaned forward. You have one chance to avoid total destruction. Call off your invasion. Recognize humanity as an equal power. Lift all restrictions on our territory and development. Do this and we will show mercy. Refuse and you will learn exactly how patient we have been and how much we have held back. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in absolute silence. Admiral Kyle Morrison stood in the war room of the USS Defiance and studied the strategic map floating before him. Red markers showed council military installations scattered across their territory. Blue markers indicated human positions, both official and secret. Purple highlights marked targets for the next phase of Operation Revelation. They still refused to believe it, Kyle said as he read the latest intelligence reports. Even after we destroyed half their invasion fleet, the council thinks we simply got lucky. Captain Linda Hayes pointed to several enemy fleet concentrations on the map. Long-range sensors show massive forces gathering at Terminus Station. Intelligence estimates they are pulling together everything they have from all 12 species. They are planning one huge counteroffensive. Commander Greg Palmer pulled up intercepted council communications. They are calling it Operation Final Solution. The plan is to hit all 20 of our official colonies at the same time while sending their main battle fleet straight to Earth. They want total war and complete annihilation. How long until they are ready to launch? Kyle asked. 72 hours. They are rushing the preparations, probably afraid we will strike first. Kyle smiled without humor. They are right to be afraid. What they do not understand is that we are not just defending 20 colonies. We are defending 300, and every single one is about to become a fortress they cannot break through. In the hidden colony of New Frontier, built in a system the council had marked as uninhabitable, Governor Paul Richards addressed his population through planetary broadcast. Citizens of New Frontier, the Galactic Council has declared war on all of humanity. They believe they are attacking a weak species with limited resources. It is time to show them the truth. He gestured, and suddenly the planetary defense network became visible in orbit above them. Thousands of weapons platforms, shield generators, and automated defense drones powered up. Their energy signatures were no longer hidden or restricted. For 200 years we have hidden what we truly are. Today we reveal everything. New Frontier is not just a colony. We are a fortress world, one of dozens prepared for exactly this moment, and we are ready for whatever they throw at us. Similar declarations were happening across all of humanity's hidden territory. Worlds that appeared empty on council maps suddenly blazed with massive energy signatures. Defense networks that dwarfed anything the council possessed activated across hundreds of star systems. In the council chambers, the emergency session had become permanent. Fresh intelligence. E-reports arrived every hour, and each one was more alarming than the last. Counselor Var projected the latest sensor data for everyone to see. Another 50 human worlds just appeared on our scans. That brings the confirmed total to 350. How many more are hiding out there? We have no idea, admitted Counselor Saren. Our intelligence agencies are completely overwhelmed. Everywhere we look, we find more hidden colonies, more secret installations, more evidence that humanity has been deceiving us for 2 centuries. Counselor Vex, his pride still wounded from the destruction of the Vrexian fleet, refused to accept reality. Numbers mean nothing. We still outnumber them. 12 species against 1. We mobilize absolutely everything. We hit them with overwhelming force, and we end this threat before they grow even stronger. You are not listening, Counselor Zareth said quietly. The question is not whether we outnumber them. The question is whether our technology can even hurt them. Their shields absorb our most powerful weapons. Their stealth systems make them completely invisible to our sensors. Their weapons ignore every defense we have. How do you fight an enemy you cannot hit, who can destroy you at will? The debate was interrupted by urgent alerts. Council security forces had detected a massive human fleet materializing in the outer terminus sector, dangerously close to Galaxis Prime itself. 200 human warships had just appeared from dimensional fold space, completely bypassing all the elaborate sensor networks that were supposed to provide early warning of any attack. Captain Martin Blake stood on the bridge of the Invisible Hand, now serving as flagship for the human expeditionary force. Around him, in perfect formation, the fleet held position with weapons charged but not firing. This was a demonstration of capability without actual aggression. Open a communication channel to Galaxis Prime, he ordered. The Council received the transmission in shocked silence. A human captain was commanding a fleet that had appeared deep inside what was supposed to be the most heavily defended space in the entire galaxy. Without any warning whatsoever, Council members, Martin began in a tone that was polite but absolutely firm. We are the human expeditionary fleet. We are here to demonstrate a simple truth. There is nowhere in Council space that we cannot reach. Your defenses, your sensor networks, your military installations, all of them are vulnerable to our technology. He made a gesture and tactical displays appeared showing detailed scans of Council military positions throughout the entire sector, including secret installations that were supposed to be completely hidden. We have mapped every military base, every fleet concentration, every strategic asset you possess in this region. We could destroy all of them within a few hours if we chose to do so. But we are not here to attack. We are here to deliver a message. Martin's expression became hard as steel. End this war immediately. Recognize humanity as an equal power with full rights, or we will be forced to demonstrate that we can systematically dismantle the entire Galactic Council piece by piece, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop us. The transmission ended abruptly. The human fleet held its position for exactly 10 minutes, a calculated display of dominance, then vanished back into dimensional fold space as suddenly as they had appeared. In the council chamber, the panic had transformed into cold calculation and harsh reality. Counselor Thane spoke what many were now thinking. They can fold space at will. We have been researching dimensional technology for centuries and never achieved stable results. They are not just ahead of us in 1 or 2 areas. They are generations ahead across the board. We cannot win this war, Counselor Saren admitted finally. Not militarily. Every single engagement proves they have vastly superior technology. If they can appear anywhere and strike anywhere while we cannot effectively counterattack, this is not a war. It is a slow execution. So we just surrender? Vex demanded angrily. The mighty Galactic Council that has ruled for thousands of years surrenders to a species we considered primitive just months ago? The alternative, Var said coldly, is that we continue fighting and watch them systematically dismantle our entire civilization world by world and fleet by fleet. How many ships have we already lost? How many more can we afford to sacrifice? They could have destroyed Galaxis Prime and killed all of us today. They chose to demonstrate their capability instead of using it. That should tell us something. Counselor Zareth stood slowly. 200 years ago, I advised humanity to hide their true strength. I did this because I knew the Council would attempt to destroy any species that appeared to threaten our absolute dominance. The tragedy is that we have become so arrogant, so certain of our superiority, that we cannot recognize an equal power even when it defeats us decisively. He looked directly at each council member. Humanity did not want this war. We forced it on them with our declaration. They did not want to hide their true nature and capabilities. We made it necessary by threatening any species that showed too much promise. Every restriction we placed on them, Every limitation we enforced was us trying to keep a potential rival weak and easily manageable. Now we are facing the consequences of our own actions. What do you propose we do? Thane asked. Negotiate peace. Accept their terms. We recognize them as a fully equal power. We lift every single restriction we ever placed on them, and we hope they are merciful enough to accept a peaceful resolution. Vex made a sound of disgust. You want to give them everything they demand? Show weakness and submission to the entire galaxy? We are not showing weakness, Var countered firmly. We are acknowledging reality. This war is already lost. The only remaining question is how many millions of our people die before we finally admit the truth. The vote was called, and the chamber fell silent as each counselor made their choice. 8 voted for immediate peace negotiations. 4, including Vex, voted to continue the war at any cost. On Earth, Admiral Peter Grant received the Council's official transmission. 8 species want to negotiate peace, but 4 are still committed to fighting? Director Henry Shaw reviewed the complete message. The 4 are the Vrexian Empire, Corthan Collective, Sithari Concordat, and the Draxian Legion. General Carey Nelson pulled up military data on those 4 species. Together, they represent approximately 40% of the Council's total military strength. If they break away from the others and continue fighting, this could drag on for years. Peter considered the situation carefully. Humanity does not want to commit genocide, but we cannot let them think defiance is a viable option. We need to show the entire galaxy conclusively and definitively that opposing us is absolutely futile. You are suggesting one final, overwhelming demonstration? Henry asked. Not just a demonstration. Something decisive and unmistakable. Something that makes it perfectly clear that continued resistance equals certain suicide. Admiral Kyle Morrison was given direct command of the operation. Admiral Kyle Morrison received his orders directly from Earth Command. His target was the Vrexian shipyards at Carthex, the most heavily defended military installation in all of Vrexian space. This would be the demonstration that ended all resistance. How many ships do we have for this operation? Kyle asked his tactical officer. Captain Linda Hayes reviewed the fleet composition. 50 dreadnoughts, 200 cruisers, 500 escorts, and full fighter support. Command wants this to be visible and unmistakable. Good. That is exactly the point we need to make. The human fleet emerged from dimensional fold space directly in orbit above Carthex. The Vrexian defense fleet, consisting of 200 warships, moved immediately to intercept the human force. This is Fleet Commander Zarthok to the human invaders. The transmission came through. You have violated Vrexian sovereign space. Withdraw immediately or face complete destruction. Kyle recognized that name. This was the same Vrexian commander who had led the initial failed invasion attempt against Earth. Commander Zarthok. Kyle responded calmly. I am going to give you one opportunity. Surrender your fleet now and allow us to disable your shipyards peacefully, or we will do it by force. You dare threaten the Vrexian homeworld? We have 200 ships against your 50. You cannot possibly win. You had 140 ships when you attacked Earth. How did that turn out for you? There was a long, heavy silence on the communication channel. This is your last chance, Kyle said. Stand down now. Zarthok's response was to order his entire fleet to open fire. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted exactly 7 minutes. Human quantum weapons tore through Vrexian ships as if their hulls were made of paper. The famous Vrexian defense platforms, armed with weapons that supposedly could damage any shield, found their firepower simply absorbed and converted into more power for the human vessels. Commander Jake Sullivan led his fighter squadron through the expanding debris field, targeting any platform that continued to show resistance. Ghost Leader to Fleet Command. All opposition has ceased. The shipyards are now completely defenseless. Kyle made the hardest decision of his entire military career. All ships target the orbital shipyards. I want complete and total destruction. Make sure it is visible from the planet surface below. For the Vrexian population watching from their homeworld, the sky suddenly erupted in brilliant fire. The massive orbital shipyards, the pride of their entire empire and capable of producing 50 capital ships every year, disintegrated under sustained human weapons fire. This is Admiral Morrison to the Vrexian Empire, and all Council species monitoring this transmission. Kyle broadcast on every available frequency. What you just witnessed is the price of continued resistance. We do not want to destroy you, but we absolutely will if you force our hand. 8 species have already chosen peace. We strongly encourage the four who have not to reconsider your position immediately." He paused deliberately, letting the burning debris of the shipyards fill the screen behind him. "This is your final warning. Choose very wisely." Within 12 hours, 3 of the 4 resistant species, including the Vrexians, sent formal messages agreeing to the peace terms. Only the Draxian Legion continued to refuse negotiations. "One more demonstration," Admiral Peter Grant said grimly from Earth. "Make this one count, and make it absolutely final." The Draxian home fleet, representing the last military force still actively opposing humanity, made their final stand in orbit around their homeworld. 300 ships, everything they had remaining, formed a defensive sphere around the planet. The human fleet that emerged from fold space to face them numbered only 30 vessels. The Draxian commander broadcast with confidence. "You are outnumbered 10 to 1. Even with your admittedly superior technology, you cannot possibly prevail against such odds." Captain Amy Rogers, now commanding her own vessel called the Swift Justice, allowed herself a small smile. "Who said these 30 ships were all we brought?" The 30 visible human ships opened coordinated fire, deliberately drawing the Draxian fleet out of their defensive formation. As the enemy committed fully to their attack, reality itself seemed to tear open in hundreds of locations simultaneously. The rest of the human attack force, over 500 ships that had been hiding in dimensional fold space, emerged all at once in perfect attack formation. The Draxians realized far too late that they had been baited into an obvious trap. Within 30 minutes, the engagement was completely over. The Draxian home fleet had been utterly destroyed, and humanity held absolute orbital supremacy over their homeworld. Draxian government, Peter Grant transmitted directly to their leadership. "You now have exactly 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. If you refuse, we will be forced to take far more drastic action against your world. The choice is entirely yours." 57 minutes later, the Draxian Legion formally surrendered without conditions. The war was finally over. The peace conference took place on a neutral world called Haven, a small independent planet that had somehow remained free of council control. Representatives from all 12 council species gathered together with human diplomats to negotiate what would become known as the Treaty of Haven. Ambassador Claire Watson led the human delegation. She had prepared for this role her entire professional career, without ever knowing it would matter so much. Across the negotiating table sat the same counselors who just weeks earlier had been absolutely confident they could crush humanity easily. "Let us begin," Claire said in a tone that was professional but completely firm. First term of the treaty. "All restrictions on human expansion are permanently and irrevocably lifted. We will colonize any unclaimed system we choose without requiring council approval of any kind." Councillor Thane, who had emerged as the moderate voice among the council members, nodded slowly. "We agree to this term. We acknowledge that we never had any legitimate right to limit your growth in the first place." Second term, Claire continued. "Humanity will be recognized as a full and completely equal member of galactic civilization, with all rights and privileges that status entails, including a permanent seat on the Galactic Council with full voting rights." This caused immediate murmurs around the negotiating table. Adding a 13th species to the Council would fundamentally alter the power balance that had existed unchanged for thousands of years. Councillor Var spoke carefully. "We accept this term, but we have one request. The Council structure has always been based on consensus building. With your obvious technological superiority, you could potentially dominate all decision-making through implied military threat. We ask for your assurance that you will not abuse this position of power." Claire considered the question thoughtfully. "We want genuine partners, not frightened subjects. Here is our counter-proposal. Humanity accepts a council seat, but we actively support restructuring the entire council to include representatives from smaller species who have been systematically shut out of real power for generations. We propose making it more democratic and more truly representative of all galactic civilizations." This was completely unexpected. Councillor Zareth, who represented one of those smaller marginalized species, spoke with evident surprise in his voice. "You would voluntarily advocate for others to share power equally with you?" "We remember very clearly what it felt like to be on the outside looking in," Claire said simply. "We will not help perpetuate that same unjust system." The conference room fell into stunned silence as the council members processed this unexpected offer. Finally, Councillor Saren spoke quietly. "This is not what we expected at all. You have won the war decisively and completely. You could dictate any terms you wanted." "We could," Claire agreed. "But that is not the kind of galaxy we want to live in. We want a system where everyone has a real voice, where technological advancement is celebrated rather than violently suppressed, where young species are not crushed simply for showing potential and promise." "You want to reform the entire established galactic order," Thane said slowly as understanding dawned. "Yes, we do, because the old order and its failures are exactly what led to this unnecessary war." Over the next several weeks, the Treaty of Haven gradually took its final shape. All human colonies would be officially recognized, with the clear understanding that humanity now controlled over 350 worlds, making them one of the largest single powers in the known galaxy. Extensive trade agreements were carefully negotiated, with humanity agreeing to share some of their advanced technology in exchange for access to council resources and established markets. Most significantly for the future, the Galactic Council itself was fundamentally restructured. The number of permanent seats expanded from 12 to 20, with the new positions specifically going to previously marginalized and overlooked species. Voting procedures were completely reformed to prevent any single species or coalition from dominating policy decisions. The Treaty of Haven was signed by all parties, and the galaxy began its transformation. Humanity had won not just a military victory but something far more important. They had won the right to exist without fear, the recognition that they were powerful enough that no one would ever try to suppress them again, and the opportunity to reshape galactic civilization into something better than what they had found. The long patience that had lasted 200 years was finally over. Humanity no longer needed to hide in the shadows or pretend to be weak. They could stand openly as equals among the stars and help build a better future for all species. 20 years had passed since the war ended, and the galaxy had changed in ways nobody could have predicted. The Treaty of Haven had transformed more than just political structures. It had changed how different species viewed each other and how they interacted across the stars. Captain Emma Richards commanded the exploration vessel, Horizon's Promise, as it mapped previously uncharted regions of the galactic arm. Her crew of 40 included humans, Rexians, Thalen, and members of 6 other species, all working together seamlessly. She was the daughter of Paul Richards, the former governor of New Frontier who had helped build humanity's hidden colonies. "Captain, we are approaching the target system," reported Lieutenant Dax, a young Vrexian navigation officer. "Sensors are detecting unusual energy readings." Emma studied the incoming data carefully. "Any signs of technological civilization?" "Nothing technological detected, but there are significant biological readings. This system definitely has life." The discovery of new inhabited systems had become increasingly common since the Treaty of Haven. With humanity's advanced sensors and dimensional fold drives, exploration had accelerated dramatically. The galaxy was proving to be far more populated than anyone had previously realized. "Standard first contact protocols," Emma ordered. "If there is a civilization down there, we approach very carefully and respectfully." This extreme caution was another legacy of the war. The reformed Galactic Council had established strict guidelines for first contact, learning from humanity's own experience of how established powers could harm newcomers. On Galaxis Prime, the council chamber had been completely redesigned to accommodate 40 permanent seats instead of the original 12. Admiral Peter Grant, now retired from active military service but still serving as a senior council member, chaired the current session. "The question before us today," he said to the assembled delegates, "is whether we are ready to share faster-than-light technology with the Krell civilization. They have reached the appropriate technological threshold, but there are concerns about their political stability." Councillor Zix, who had succeeded the previous Vrexian representative, spoke thoughtfully. "Ali, 20 years ago the old council would have simply denied them access regardless of their readiness. We must be very careful not to repeat those past mistakes. But we also learned," added Councillor Nira of the Sithari, "that sharing advanced technology too quickly with unprepared civilizations can be extremely dangerous. The Krell are still working through significant internal conflicts." Peter nodded in agreement. "This is the constant balance we must maintain. The old council was wrong to suppress species out of fear. We must not be equally wrong by being reckless in the opposite direction. I propose a compromise. We provide the Krell with the fundamental theoretical principles of faster-than-light travel, along with diplomatic support for their unification efforts. They receive the tools to advance, but also the guidance to do so safely and responsibly. The measure passed with broad support, illustrating how much the council had truly changed. Decisions were no longer made by a handful of dominant powers, but through genuine consultation and consensus building among many voices. In human space, Earth had become a major hub of interstellar commerce and cultural exchange. The planet that 20 years ago had been under threat of invasion now hosted permanent embassies from over 100 different species. Trade flowed freely in all directions, bringing exotic goods and revolutionary ideas from across the galaxy. Jake Sullivan, now serving as director of the Galactic Exploration Service, met with Ambassador Claire Watson in her office overlooking the Geneva spaceport. "You wanted to see me?" Jake asked as he entered. Claire gestured for him to sit down. "I wanted to discuss the cultural exchange programs. They are succeeding far beyond our initial expectations." "How so?" "We are now seeing second-generation individuals, children who are growing up in mixed communities, learning multiple languages naturally, experiencing multiple cultures as normal parts of their lives. They do not carry the historical baggage that our generation does. To them, the war is just ancient history from textbooks." Jake smiled warmly. "My son is engaged to a Thalen woman. When I was his age, I was piloting fighters in combat against Vrexians. The difference between our generations is remarkable." "Exactly my point. This is what genuine lasting peace actually looks like. Not just the absence of active warfare, but real integration and mutual understanding." She paused thoughtfully. "Though not everyone is entirely happy about these changes." "The separatist movements?" Claire nodded seriously. "Both human and alien. There are organized groups on multiple worlds who believe we are diluting our respective cultures, that we should maintain strict separation between species rather than integration." "Do they pose any real threat?" "Not militarily. Human technology is still decades ahead of anyone else, and our defensive capabilities are well known and respected. But they pose a philosophical challenge that concerns me. If we cannot convince our own people that cooperation is genuinely better than isolation, how can we expect to maintain galactic unity over the long term?" Back on the Horizon's Promise, Emma's crew had made peaceful contact with the inhabitants of the planet below. The species called themselves the Varen, and they had developed approximately Bronze Age-level technology. Following established first contact protocols, Emma had landed with a small diplomatic team including Dr. Marcus Chen, humanity's leading expert in alien anthropology and cultural studies. "This is truly remarkable," Marcus said as he studied the Varen village from a respectful distance. "They have developed highly cooperative social structures that are far more sophisticated than their current technology level would typically suggest." "Should we make direct contact with them?" Emma asked carefully. "Not immediately. Current doctrine requires us to observe thoroughly, document everything, and only reveal ourselves if they demonstrate readiness or if they face some immediate danger." The Varen civilization was genuinely fascinating to observe. They were organized around vast, extended family networks that transcended individual settlements and geographic boundaries. Though they completely lacked advanced technology, they had developed remarkably sophisticated philosophy, complex art, and advanced mathematical concepts. "They remind me of humanity in certain ways," Emma observed thoughtfully. "Not technologically, of course, but in their obvious potential. Given proper time and appropriate guidance, they could eventually become something truly special. The fundamental question," Marcus said seriously, "is whether we have any right to intervene in their natural development at all. Even with the very best intentions, contact with a far more advanced civilization inevitably changes the contacted species in profound ways. Sometimes the changes are beneficial, but sometimes they are extremely harmful." This complex ethical dilemma had become absolutely central to modern galactic policy. The old council had addressed it by restricting contact almost entirely, leaving primitive species in complete isolation. The reformed council now struggled constantly with finding the proper balance between protection and what some criticized as patronizing behavior. On Earth, Colonel Frank Morris, now teaching at the prestigious Galactic Strategic Institute, lectured a diverse class of students representing a dozen different species about the lessons of the war. The key lesson you must understand, he told them seriously, is that the long patience was simultaneously both necessary and deeply problematic. It was necessary because without it, humanity would have been systematically crushed before we could properly defend ourselves. It was problematic because it was born from a fundamentally unjust system where weaker species had to hide their natural strength just to survive. A Corthan student raised a tentacle questioningly. "Professor, do you honestly think humanity would have hidden their true capabilities if the Council had been more welcoming and open from the beginning?" Frank considered the question carefully before answering. "Almost certainly not. If we had first encountered a galactic community that genuinely welcomed new species and actively encouraged their development, we would have been completely open about our progress and achievements. The elaborate deception was purely a defensive response to a clear threat, not any kind of natural preference." "Does humanity still maintain significant hidden assets?" asked a human student. "Secret strategic capabilities held as contingency plans?" "That information remains classified," Frank said with a slight knowing smile. "But I can tell you this much. The covert colonies that were dramatically revealed during the war are now fully integrated into recognized human space. We are not hiding our civilization anymore. As for whether we maintain certain advanced military capabilities in strategic reserve, well, every truly wise power keeps at least some secrets for emergencies. In the Vrexian Empire, which had undergone dramatic democratic reforms inspired directly by the Treaty of Haven, former Fleet Commander Zarthok now ran a military academy training the next generation of Vrexian officers. You all know my personal history," he told his assembled students honestly. "I commanded the invasion fleet that attacked Earth. I was absolutely confident we would crush the humans easily and quickly. Instead, they defeated us so completely and thoroughly that it exposed every fundamental flaw in traditional Vrexian military doctrine and strategic thinking." A young cadet asked respectfully, "Commander, how did you personally recover from such a devastating and public defeat?" "By accepting that defeat taught me far more than an entire lifetime of easy victories ever could. The humans did not just beat us militarily on the battlefield. They beat us philosophically and strategically. They had been carefully preparing for possible war while genuinely hoping for lasting peace. They had hidden their true strength not out of cowardice or weakness but out of genuine wisdom and patience. And most importantly, when they finally won decisively, they chose systematic reformation over simple revenge and destruction." He pulled up historical battle footage for the class to study. "Watch this engagement very carefully. Observe how the human forces use technology we could not possibly match. Now watch closely how they actually apply it in combat. Every single tactical decision was carefully designed to minimize total casualties, including enemy casualties. They fought purely to end the war quickly, not to exterminate us completely. And that is precisely why they won the peace just as decisively as they won the war." Another cadet concluded thoughtfully. "Exactly correct. Anyone with sufficient resources can win through simple superior force and overwhelming numbers. The true test of any civilization is what they choose to do with victory once they achieve it." On New Frontier, former Governor Paul Richards, now in his 70s, walked slowly through the city that had grown dramatically around the original hidden colony settlement. Buildings that once had been carefully concealed now reached confidently toward the sky. The population had more than tripled as the colony accepted immigrants from across the entire galaxy. Governor Lisa Monroe, his successor, walked beside him. "You built something genuinely special here," she said with obvious admiration.